The Philadelphia Phillies were off yesterday on Thursday, but they're right back at it tonight at Citizens Bank Park, starting a three-game home series against their division rival, Washington Nationals. Taijuan Walker is scheduled to start the series opener here Friday night against the Nationals for the Phillies. The Phillies offense has been scorching hot over the last four games. They're on a four-game win streak, hitting the ball like crazy, driving in runs like crazy as well. Hopefully they can continue this going against the Washington Nationals, and then a huge three-game road series against the New York Mets, who are just behind the Phillies in the National League East in the division there. Welcome to Phillies Daily, everybody. I'm your host, Mike Henley. Make sure you guys subscribe for more Phillies content right here on Phillies Daily. The Phillies do have the opportunity to press the redo button here against the Nationals. Obviously, before the Phillies got that huge home sweep of the Seattle Mariners right before the off day yesterday, they did have a four-game series in Washington against the Nationals. They split that series 2-2. Wasn't their best performance. The last game, the offense that started the four-game win streak, started the scorching hot, red-hot offensive streak here in the last four games. But the first three games before that weren't pretty. They lost two of those three games. Really didn't have much offensive production. But now they have a second chance here with this three-game home series against the Nationals starting tonight. The Nationals are last in the National League East. They have the third worst record in Major League Baseball. So it's really a team that the Phillies should have no problem taking care of, handle their own business, and move on to this huge Mets series right after. Following this National Series, as I said, the Phillies offense has been scorching hot. Recently, the Phillies starting pitching also has been dominant, much like they have been all of 2025. They did fall into a little bit of a mini slump right before these last 3 or 4 games as well, but that Mariners series, the starting rotation was terrific between Ranger Suarez, Christopher Sanchez, and then Jesus Luzardo. Hopefully, they can continue that tonight with Taijuan Walker on the mound, who's had a very good season overall for the Phillies, both in the bullpen and in the starting rotation, especially considering how bad he was last year in 2024. Hopefully, he stays pitching good enough here for the Phillies tonight against the Nationals, and then Aaron Nola is scheduled to start tomorrow on Saturday. Obviously, didn't have his best stuff in his first game back from the IL. Hopefully, that can change here against the Nationals. We'll see. He's a veteran. He's had prior success, a lot of success in Major League Baseball. Didn't have great success earlier in the season before he was on the IL, so just a very bad season overall for Aaron Nola. But the team definitely needs him, especially with their ace Zach Wheeler out for who knows how long with that right shoulder surgery he had for that blood clot in his throwing arm. The Phillies need this starting rotation to continue to be a strength, and that really starts with a veteran at the top with Aaron Nola. He needs to bounce back. Obviously, they have Christopher Sanchez as well, who's an ace in his own here in Major League Baseball. But the Phillies need to take care of business here in this three-game home series against the Washington Nationals and continue their hot streak heading into that Mets series. Now, off day yesterday, not much to talk about since there was no game to recap. So we'll give Tanner Banks some credit here. He has been incredible for the Phillies in their bullpen all season long. Really an unsung hero of the Phillies bullpen. We all know that bullpen has been a weakness all season long. Better as of late, ever since they acquired Joan Duran there from the Minnesota Twins to shore up the back end of their bullpen, finally get a dominant closer. But Tanner Banks is really one of the only guys who has been really good all season long in a bad bullpen overall and very consistent for the Phillies. Not a huge name, doesn't get that much recognition really outside of Philadelphia, not really on the national level, but Tanner Banks has been incredible. He has a 2.98 ERA, a 0.94 whip, 6 holds, 1 save, and 2 opportunities, 53 strikeouts in 54 appearances here for the Phillies in 2025. He has a 1.29 ERA in his last 7 appearances so far here in August. Very dominant, a 214 batting average against in 2025, and he's allowed just a career low 8 walks here this season. Great stuff out of Tanner Banks, the left-hander. He has been a pleasant surprise since the Phillies acquired him, and really an under-the-radar type of trade last year at the deadline in 2024 from the Chicago White Sox. Had a good end of the season for the Phillies there in 2024 since coming over, and then obviously an incredible season in the bullpen for them as well here in 2025. He's a guy, being a lefty, that may be relied on heavily come playoff time, late in ball games, close situations. Tanner Banks is going to be getting the ball, and he is going to be there in big moments on the national stage. They have Matt Strom as a left-handed option. He hasn't really been that consistent in 2025. He was an all-star last year in 2024, just not the same success here consistently in 2025. And then obviously their other lefty there late in the ball games, Jose Alvarado. He is ineligible for the playoffs as part of that suspension for performance-enhancing drug use with that weight loss supplement he reportedly took in the offseason. He's back for the Phillies, made his first appearance the other night, but he only gets to pitch the rest of the regular season, the last month and a half or so, and then just not eligible for the playoffs. So Tanner Banks is going to be a lefty the Phillies and Rob Thompson, the Phillies manager, are going to rely on come playoff time, and deservingly so, because he has been incredible, as I said, just listing off his numbers here in 2025. Sticking around with the bullpen, not for the Phillies, but Major League Baseball news wide here. The Houston Astros signed a familiar face. The veteran, future Hall of Fame closer Craig Kimbrel signed with the Houston Astros on a major league deal. He will be joining the Astros bullpen on the big league club. He's a 37-year-old now. As I said, future Hall of Famer, one of the best closers of his generation. Craig Kimbrel, we all know he was with the Phillies in 2023. He was an all-star, actually, in 2023 with the Phillies. He had a 3.26 ERA, 23 saves, 94 strikeouts, and a 181 batting average against in that 2023 All-Star season. But he's going to be remembered for the end of that, the second half of that season, and in the playoffs, most definitely. Before the All-Star break, he was 14 for 14, a perfect 14 for 14 in save opportunities. Then post All-Star break, he was just 9 for 14 in save opportunities. He was fine, I would say, through his first 4 appearances in the postseason in 2023 for the Phillies, but then just fell apart in the NLCS against the Arizona Diamondbacks. He blew Game 3 of that NLCS. The Phillies had a 2-0 lead, looking to just move right on to a second consecutive World Series appearance when they lost to the Astros the year prior in 2022 in the World Series. They were looking dominant, coming off a 10-0 win in Game 2 at home at Citizens Bank Park. But Craig Kimbrel blew that Game 3. The Phillies were then leading that series 2-1. The Diamondbacks starting to get momentum back, playing at home as well in front of their home crowd. And then Rob Thompson decided to go back to Craig Kimbrel that very next day after blowing Game 3 of that NLCS for Game 4 of the NLCS, and he blew that game as well. The Phillies had a 5-3 lead in the 8th inning. Craig Kimbrel allowed 2 runs to tie the game there in the 8th inning, also allowed 2 more runners after those 2 runs. He was replaced by Jose Alvarado in that inning. Unfortunately, the go-ahead run did score. The Diamondbacks took a 6-5 lead in the 8th inning. That extra run was charged to Craig Kimbrel because he allowed that runner on base, and then Jose Alvarado allowed the runner to score. But the run charged to Craig Kimbrel, 3 earned runs in that Game 4, blew the game. Diamondbacks took the lead. Phillies couldn't score in the 9th inning, and they lost that Game 4 6-5, tied up the series 2-2. And then the Phillies went on to eventually lose to the Diamondbacks in Game 7 and missed out on a second consecutive World Series championship appearance there. Unfortunate. Craig Kimbrel is going to be remembered for his Phillies tenure and by the Phillies fans for that NLCS appearance, that NLCS performance, and that's going to haunt him forever when he's been talked about for his Philadelphia Phillies career. He made just 1 appearance so far in 2025 with the Atlanta Braves back on June 6th. Hasn't pitched in the big leagues since. Hadn't pitched in the big leagues before that in 2025. But now he is getting an opportunity with the Houston Astros for this final stretch of the regular season and into the playoffs. And Astros are a good team. They're a playoff team. Who knows? It could be another World Series matchup between the Phillies and Astros come October. And we could see Craig Kimbrel coming out of the bullpen on the other side going up against the Phillies, and I'm sure that's exactly what Phillies fans would love to see, and love to see Craig Kimbrel blow games for the Astros with the Phillies coming out on top in the playoffs and hopefully in the World Series if that is a matchup. Again, since there was no Phillies game yesterday, nothing really to talk about on that side of things. So we will look down on the farm, looking at some prospects, a lesser-known prospect, and his name is Keaton Anthony. He's a 24-year-old first baseman, also has some appearances as a designated hitter here in the Phillies organization. He's a right-handed hitter. He's the Phillies' number 15 prospect per MLB Pipeline. Right now, he's playing in AAA Lehigh Valley with the Iron Pigs. He was promoted from AA with the Reading Fightin' Phils back in June to AAA. Great fielder. He has a .994 fielding percentage so far in 2025. Back in AA, had an incredible season before his promotion. He was batting .330 with a .380 on base percentage, .522 slugging, and a .902 OPS. He had 26 extra base hits, 29 RBIs in 40 games with the Reading Fightin' Phils in AA. And then since his promotion back in June, early to mid-ish June, when he got promoted to the Iron Pigs, he's been batting .313 with a .374 on base percentage, .433 slugging, .807 OPS, 12 extra base hits, 10 RBIs so far in 33 games in AAA with the Iron Pigs. He's a career .324 hitter down there in the minor leagues since joining the Phillies organization in 2023 as an undrafted free agent out of Iowa. Now, he has only played first base and has some DH experience here in the Phillies organization since 2023 when he joined the organization. But he does have outfield experience as well, going back to his playing days in Iowa. He's currently on the 7-day injured list down there in the minor leagues. Hasn't played since August 2nd. Should be returning pretty soon. And with September call-ups about to happen here as we near the end of August, MLB rosters expand from 26-man rosters to 28. So Keaton Anthony could be a guy that the Phillies could look to as a extra bat in the lineup, extra right-handed bat with some pop, some power, if for this final stretch of the season. Again, a lesser-known prospect, but he has had an incredible season between AA and AAA in 2025, and really his first 3 years in the Phillies organization. 24-year-old, got some power, got some pop, and he could be a piece moving forward in the future. Obviously, they have Bryce Harper at first base, but as I said, he has some experience in college playing outfield. The Phillies outfield up in the air for the future. Also, who knows what happens with Kyle Schwarber as a designated hitter? Maybe you could slide somebody else in the who's currently playing in the field for the Phillies to the designated hitter role if Kyle Schwarber is not re-signed, and that opens up a spot somewhere for Keaton Anthony as well. We'll see what happens. Obviously, not a major prospect, but a guy that has had a lot of success in the minors and could help this Phillies lineup really as soon as this year in September. We'll see what happens. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this episode of Phillies Daily. I'm your host, Mike Henley. Make sure you guys like, comment, share, and subscribe for more Phillies content right here on Phillies Daily. 3-game home series tonight at Citizens Bank Park against the Washington Nationals. The Phillies are red hot right now. Hopefully that continues tonight. Pick up this series opening win and go into Saturday feeling good on a 5-game win streak. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, go Phils.